Callisto Protocol, a new game, new experience by Striking Distance Studios. Pretentious pricks. We open on a girl walking through what seems to be the aftermath of a biochemical attack. A camera then zooms in on her face where it transitions to a news report saying that she led the terrorists that caused the attack. Seems like there are shenanigans afoot. The news report is being watched by our main character, Jacob Lee, and his co-pilot, Max. They're preparing to leave Black Iron Prison to deliver some goods, and the conversation they have is weird.
In course for Europa Station. You got something to say? You're gonna keep flicking that thing all day.
I was watching that.
It's our last run, Max. And I'm done talking about it.
Then what do you want me to say?
How about thank you? Because after this job, we're never gonna have to work another day in our lives.
Well, I guess you got it all figured out.
I guess so.
It's like we got there at the very end of a tense conversation, so without the context, it just feels awkward. The scene doesn't last very long, though, and there seems to be a problem in the cargo hold, and Max sends us down to fix it. We find our first audio log in Jacob's room. It's not much, it's just Jacob making a recording of himself.
Personal log.
You going or what?
We're docked at Callisto hangar. Confined to quarters while they load the cargo. Max has been on my case about these Europa runs. We've done jobs like this before. Don't know why he cares so much now. I mean, it's just a job. Gotta keep your head down and your mouth shut.
Why would he record this? Are you starting a smuggling podcast or something, Jacob? I have a bit more to say on them later, but first, the most glaring issue is that they don't automatically play. Seriously, the only way to listen to them is from the menu. What's that? You wanted to walk around and explore while listening to the audio log? Fuck you! We worked real hard on those waveforms and you're gonna appreciate them. Ah! Steve! The Callisto Protocol!
Max, we got trouble.
What's up?
We've been boarded.
Oh shit. The other way?
Yeah, I'm guessing.
You know, the ship is pretty small. How the hell did we avoid each other until now? Jacob manages to lock the intruders in the cargo hold and tries to space them. But the leader shoots the door window leading to the whole ship to decompress. We then get an action scene straight out of Uncharted, where Jacob has to climb to the pilot seat and try to save the ship from crashing. Oh, and I looked it up, and it turns out if you lose air like this, you lose consciousness in about 30 seconds. Despite making it to the pilot's seat, the ship still crashes, but Jacob wore his seatbelt, so he's fine. Ooh, shit! Look on the bright side, Max, you can now play as Two-Face in the next Batman movie. Luckily, we landed on Callisto, though, and the head of Black Iron Security helps us. Wait, why would they send the head of security? Wouldn't this job be relegated to a mook? How the hell did she survive? Jacob at least had his seatbelt on. She was playing dodgeball with cargo containers. Unfortunately for Jacob, the warden calls Captain Ferris and has him arrested.
Whatever you say.
Grab him too.
Hey! What are you doing? Hey! I didn't do anything!
Ooh, is that dramatic irony I smell? No, wait, I'm having a stroke. We get taken to the prison doctor who installs a Fitbit in our neck, but Jacob is so out of shape, he starts to flatline. Also, I know this is supposed to be a horrific scene with Jacob crying out in horrible pain, but the look on his face just makes it look like he has diarrhea. And here it is. When I first saw this scene, I knew the kind of game we were gonna get. You know, it's that feeling you get when your friend brings over a trashy slasher movie that's not nearly as entertaining as they think it will be. We wake up to the prison on fire and Jacob's cell just opens. And I thought Arkham had a revolving door policy. We meet an inmate named Elias who needs our help to open his cell door. I don't know, man, have you tried just pushing on it? It worked for Jacob. He gives us a shiv, which is only ever used to fuck with junction boxes, which is kinda lame. We have to fight off some inmates to free Elias, and well, the combat is almost too simple. Take dodging, for instance. All you have to do is either hold left or right in combat and you will dodge, and then switch them up for consecutive attacks. And I don't know why, but despite the fact the tutorial literally saying this, I somehow thought that dodging was way more complex than it really was. And it's not just me. Yahtzee and Zach Hazard made the same mistake. We all thought that dodging involved some tight timing and depended on what arm the enemy is using. I think it's because in the tutorial, the enemy is using their left hand and has us press the right button to dodge. So maybe our brains intuitively made a connection that wasn't actually there. As for the actual bonking, it's not as good as it could be. You press the attack button until Jacob stops, and then dodge, and then press the attack button again. Now, you can upgrade your melee weapon to get some more moves, like a power attack and a counter, which makes the combat a bit more fun, but as the main form of combat we're going to be doing the whole game, it's pretty mindless. The only melee weapon we get is this crowbar and then a stun baton. No hand-to-hand brawling, no grappling, we can't even use the shiv.
Jacob, can you hear me?
Yeah. How?
Enable two-way comms with your core. You know, you pick up a few tricks when you've been here as long as I have.
Why in the ever-loving fuck would the prison give the prisoners a device they can use as a radio? Why can it be used as a radio? Who created this? We have to sneak past a robot guard, and it's really silly. At first, it stands still until you get to a certain point, and then it moves forward, and then it just walks down a hallway, and unless you get really close, you have free reign over the area. Seriously, it's looking right at me, lazy robot piece of shit.
Listen, you're almost to the watchtower. I had to sneak through, but it's empty now, so you should be good.
Well, that was a fucking lie, Elias, you bastard.
Oh, 5, 2, 1. Look at me when I'm talking to you. What'd you do? Huh? You can tell me. Are you different? Are you special? Why'd the warden want you alive?
Fuck if I know, man. The game's never gonna tell us. It looks like we're gonna have a fight, but Jacob opens the door and Ferris gets tackled out of the window. Oh yeah, he ain't dead. No body, no death. Oh, fuck you! How was I supposed to be prepared for that? Cheap piece of shit. We meet up with Elias and we get a gun, which is fine. The guns in the game are mostly used as combo enders until the final boss, but we'll get to that. Though the auto target at the end of a combo can really screw you over at a certain point, which I'll get to. We also get our first 3D printer that allows us to upgrade and craft new weapons. No new melee weapons though, only guns. And oh god, the gun crafting, it's a fucking trap, don't do it. There are a total of 5 weapons. 2 shotguns, 2 pistols, and an assault rifle. You get 1 pistol and 1 shotgun for free, meaning that the other 2 are redundant and not worth crafting. And if you do craft them, they're in your inventory permanently, and the game will start to spawn ammo for them. Meaning your piddly little inventory will become filled with ammo for weapons you don't want to use. The only weapon worth crafting is the assault rifle, because at least it's a unique weapon you can't get normally. And to be honest, I kinda wish they didn't bother with the guns. The majority of combat is done with melee, and it would have been cool if they went all in. I mean, come on, we're in a prison. There could be all sorts of makeshift weapons like sock hammers, or hell, we already have a shiv. Could even get some fistcuffs in there, you know, and the enemies could react differently to different methods. Elias has a plan, though. There's a hacker in maximum security that can call down a ship that Jacob can fly, and everyone can escape. Don't ask me how a hacker can call down a ship, though, but alright. On the way, we get a grip device. It basically gives us the force. We can grab enemies, pull them close for melee, or throw them into walls or hazards, and we can use it to chuck shit at them. Pretty fun, honestly, and it complements the melee pretty well. As shallow as the melee combat is, anyway. Though, at the start it's pretty anemic until you upgrade it, so I never really use it much till the end of the game. Though, speaking of upgrades, as of writing, there's no New Game Plus. Every new game you have to start from scratch, and with how melee focused the game is, it makes no sense not to at least fully upgrade your melee damage to level 3. The lack of a New Game Plus makes me wonder why there's an upgrade system to begin with. Sure, it gives a semblance of player choice and progression, I guess, but the best part of these systems is being able to start the game maxed out as a reward for replaying it. With how linear the game is, the only reason to replay it is achievement hunting, and you can easily get them all in a single playthrough without much trouble. Well, we get to the hacker's cell and Jacob falls for the oldest trick in the book.
It works.
Good. I'll be right there.
Elias, are you sure this is the right one? Hey! You get me out of here!
What are you doing here?
Turns out the hacker was the person who boarded our ship, a girl named Danny Nakamura. Elias tells her the plan and she says no and walks off by herself. And we won't see her again for a while. And I think this is a missed opportunity to have our main characters interact with each other a bit. There could have been some interesting drama and character work of the three of us working together, even if only for a short time. Well, we get trapped in Danny's cell, but it has a junction box for some reason, so we can escape really easily. Elias tells us we have to go through waste processing to meet him at a habitat dome, and there we can escape. We're cut off from Elias while we're in waste processing, and this is a good time to talk about the audio logs. It's bad enough they have to force us to sit there, but the majority of them are from random NPCs, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but a lot of them don't add to the story or the lore.
Stop, please. I'll give you anything, whatever you want. But we don't want anything from you. We're just having fun. No.
Yeah, I couldn't tell that happened without the audio log, thanks. The main characters should have gotten more. Eli and Ferris only have one, Danny has none of them. I would have much preferred hearing about them than hearing random Joe Schmo scream "No!" for the 23rd time. We also get introduced to a new mechanic down here, where after enough damage, enemies will grow tentacles, and if not dealt with, will evolve into stronger versions. Though it usually only takes one shot to the tentacles to kill them instantly, so it's not normally a problem. Except if you try to shoot them at the end of a combo, which will usually happen, you have to fight the auto-aim to actually let you shoot where you want to. Seriously, it's like I'm fighting the game for control at this point. Now, and to top it off, this section has a slide that's so fast and frantic, it feels like I dodged the obstacles through sheer luck than actual skill. And these fans can fuck off. Fuck whoever put them there. We managed to meet up with Elias and prepare to brave the storm.
I never asked you. What are you in for?
What? You worried you're helping a murderer escape?
Well, yeah, kinda.
Well, you are, man. So what? Look, it's a long time ago, yeah? I was defending myself. Wrong place, wrong time. I made a lot of bad decisions back then.
Yeah, well, you were probably just dealt the shitty hand.
No. I was used to blame everyone else. But then I realized this was on me. You can't keep running from what you've done.
Guys, I wonder what the game's theme is. I can't really tell. However, Zombie Ferris shows up and opens the airlock, causing us to get launched into the frozen hellscape of Callisto's surface. Wait, why would the airlock work like that? Somehow, Elias gets launched 25 miles away from us and dies when we reach him. Rest in peace, Elias. We lost a real one. And then Danny shows up in a snow tractor, steals his Fitbit, and tells us to pound sand. Not that it lasts very long, because shortly after we meet up with her at a hangar and help her fight off monsters.
Didn't expect to see you again.
Oh yeah, why's that? Huh? You left me out there to die?
And you tried to kill me back on your ship. Guess that makes us even.
Even? You boarded my ship with armed thugs. If this is even, then my math teacher is a hack. We help her fix the snow tractor, and she actually lets us in this time.
Yeah, I can't see anything up there. So,
Don't fucking talk to me.
what's your problem?
I know when we find out what Danny's deal is, it makes sense why she's acting this hostile to Jacob. But I can't help but feel this is a missed opportunity for them to talk and get some characterization out of them. Danny takes us to our wrecked ship and asks us to open some cargo. It turns out to be medical supplies, which shocks Danny, because she was expecting a bioweapon, the same one that was used on Europa at the start of the game and that Danny is framed for. After that, she takes us to the hangar tower where she calls down a ship. Unfortunately, the warden intervenes and shoots it down, causing the entire thing to collapse, sending Jacob into a freefall.
Jacob.
How the hell did Danny get here? I fell hundreds of feet. Can you fucking teleport? Turns out, though, we wound up in Argus, the original colony that was around before it was abandoned, and then the prison built instead. Jacob then falls through the floor because it couldn't handle the weight of his fat ass, and he has to make his way back to Danny. We fight our first boss in this section, and it's this two-headed motherfucker. The only way to fight him is to dodge and then shoot, and the game will reuse him at least like 4 more times. They love this guy. We make it back to Danny, who is using the core device to read the memories of the dead.
Jesus Christ, how horrifying.
After the horrific implications, we find the center of the colony, where there's a giant dead alien. This thing caused an outbreak in the colony 75 years ago, like the one in the prison, and after it was contained, larvae from it was collected and used in tests to try to achieve the next stage of human evolution. Because of course it was. We also find one of those cargo containers that was in Jacob's ship, and it had the larvae in it. Turns out there was a lab on Europa, and some sort of leak caused an outbreak to happen there. We don't get a lot of time to think about it though, because Ferris shows up looking like a green Dwayne Johnson. How the hell did he get here? We can't win this fight, we just have to survive long enough for Danny to open the door. Not that it helps much, because she gets a face full of tentacles and becomes infected. Danny is about to Cobain herself, but we convince her that we can cure her despite there being no evidence to that. What the fuck? How did these robots sneak up on us? Just walking, they sound like a sledgehammer hitting a metal wall. The cell block looks very clean considering it was on fire a few hours ago. Those janitors must be determined. We're not locked in our cell for very long though. The doctor from the start of the game contacts us. Turns out, she was able to hack the robot that had Danny and is helping her. But she could not hack our robot in time, so we have to make our way to her. When we do, she explains that during the first outbreak 75 years ago, there was one guy who managed to keep his humanity, and the purpose of this was to try to recreate that guy. However, the accidental outbreak on Europa happened, and the warden was like, you know, infecting the entire prison sounds like a good idea.
By releasing the virus into the prison?
As he would say, evolution doesn't happen in a lab, it happens in the wild.
Yeah, but how can he do this? There's no way he can cover this up.
Good question. Turns out it's because the warden is part of the Space Illuminati. No, I'm not kidding. Jacob also asks what happened on Europa, and instead of just telling him, the doctor starts a download from Danny's core so he can see her memories since she was there. Because that's so much more efficient than just saying what happened. The doctor explains one last thing. There's a way to cure Danny, but we need to suck some fluid out of the warden's alpha, the new guy who kept his humanity. Which, luckily enough, there is one. Like, do you know how stupid the warden's plan is? They have been working on recreating the alpha for 75 fucking years. The odds that an alpha would be made by infecting the prison are so astronomically low, it is such a waste of manpower and money. Cole, you fucking retard. We take Danny up to the warden's office to find the alpha, and the data transfer finishes.
Danny? Danny, where are you?
And now you're inside Danny's memories.
How the fuck do you know that? And here we get the big twist. Jacob did do something wrong. He knew he wasn't actually transporting medical supplies at all. I have been thinking about this twist for a while, and I think it's really lame, honestly. It feels like a twist for the sake of a twist. And it actually hurts the story, because if we knew the truth from the start, we could have seen a lot more of Jacob's character throughout the game, where this just shoves a ton of character development right at the end with no proper build-up.
It wasn't a terrorist attack. They doctored the footage to cover up what they were planning to test the Black Iron. And the cargo that we transported played a part in both. I could have stopped this. But I didn't.
Oh, thanks, Jacob. I didn't realize that was the twist. Jackass. We get out of the memories, and for some reason, Danny wasn't in ours. Despite the connection working both ways, guess her Wi-Fi is spotty. We leave her, and we confront the warden.
Right on time. He approaches. The survivor.
I looked it up, and Vir Solitarius translates to a lonely man. So I don't know why this is the Space Illuminati's slogan. It doesn't really make any sense. The Warden explains that humanity's future is even further into space and that we must evolve to survive. Why? No, seriously, why? He doesn't explain that there's some great alien menace, despite the fact that we killed the giant alien that was in the ice, despite the fact that the 2 outbreaks were dealt with, and despite the fact that every mutant made by this infection can be easily killed by guns and blunt force trauma. We have to use this to evolve for some reason. And not to mention the, implied intelligence. Why would you want that? That seems kind of fucked. We're not given a proper explanation to why we need to do this. Why it's so important. Whatever. He unleashes the Alpha, which turns out to be Ferris. And he's just like, I thought this was a curse, but the Warden made me realize this was a gift. Fucking lame. So we have a boss fight. In the first phase, we just beat on him until a cutscene, where he mutates into a horrible blob monster. The next phase of human evolution, everybody. And the final phase is just shooting him a bunch till he goes down. You gotta love that. The final boss is just shooting when the main game has been about using melee the whole time. We take the flume juice from Ferris and the Warden starts to cope and tease about how Ferris was weak, but with the flume juice we can really kickstart human evolution the right way. Danny tries to shoot him, but it turns out he's a hologram, and he has the fucking gall to say,
A valiant effort. But surely you know by now, I never lose.
Whatever you say, buddy. Jacob gives the cure to Danny, and the Warden is like, this doesn't change anything, blah, blah, blah. And he starts a self-destruct sequence, because of course the prison has that. Danny and Jacob make it to an escape pod, but there's only one. So Jacob throws Danny in there with a sample so she can reveal the truth. For some reason, the data transfer only now happens for Danny as she's blasting off. Great way to avoid the dramatic tension, lads. And Jacob sacrifices himself. Lol, JK. The Doctor turns off the self-destruct and gives us a cliffhanger ending. And that was Callisto Protocol. What can I say but...
Disappointed!
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit, I got no love for the fakeness.